Hi, welcome to On Your Own Tone. I'm glad that you guys are here again today. And following from last week's lesson, I'd like to look at the three basic chords we were actually concentrating on, which was the G, and if you can remember. Now I need to turn my volume up. There we go. Yeah, so it's the G major, the C major, and the D major. So hopefully you've spent a bit of time working on, getting your finger in positioning right and everything, so you feel comfortable with going through the different chord changes. So I'd like to add a couple of other chords to this chord sequence that we've got, which, as I said, is the G, D, and the two other chords I'd like to look at is E minor and A minor. And the reason why I want to introduce these chords is because I know what it's like when you actually first start playing the guitar. It's very, very difficult at first to kind of find a way of being able to use these chords so that it becomes interesting and exciting. And the worst thing is having a load of chords and thinking, what do I do with them next? So this is one of the reasons why I thought, you know what, I'm going to introduce a couple of other chords so that we can actually work on a chord sequence together today. And the two chords, as I mentioned earlier, will be your E minor and A minor. I'm going to show you how you can actually incorporate that now as part of your guitar lesson. Right, the two chords that I want to incorporate in the chord sequence following the chords that we actually worked on before, which is the G, C and the D major, is your E minor and your A minor. Now the E minor chord consists of, on your fifth string and your second fret is your B note. And I'm playing that now so you can see it. That's your B. And then the next note that's consisted in the E minor chord is your E, which is on the fourth string on the second fret. And that's this. There you go. Now what I find really interesting with chords is the relationship between the notes, and it's quite easy to kind of see how close notes consist within a chord sequence. So now we've got the B and we've also got the E. Now all the other strings, they're all open notes. E, there you go, yeah. And then your next note is your G. Next note is your B, all open. And then your next note is your E, as known as your top E then. Yeah? So there we go. I mean, if I was to kind of move my hand, then you can see what's going on. E, G, B, and top E. And then we're going to get back to the chord. So there's only two fingers you need to use, and I find it actually quite comfortable. Rather than doing it like that, I tend to use my second and third finger really if I'm playing an E minor chord. It just feels more comfortable, so it's worth a try and see how you feel with that, yeah? Okay then, so that's your E minor. And the next chord that we're actually going to use is an A minor. Okay? Now your A minor is actually not that far away from your E minor, and a lot of the times I find it easier, rather than kind of thinking of it as a completely separate thing, I just chain it together. So for example, because I've got my E minor and I've got my positioning, my fingering in a place what's comfortable, in order to go to the A minor, what I would do would be to just basically lift the two fingers simultaneously and move them on the two strings further down. Now, the notes that are consisted in the A minor chord is your E, yeah, and your A, which is on your third string, again second fret, like when we came from the E minor, which was on the same fret. The first two notes of the A minor chord is on the 2nd fret, which is your 4th string, E, and your 3rd string, A. Now to complete the A minor chord, you also need this next note, which is your 2nd string on your 1st fret, and I'll show you that note there, and that's your C. That's C, yeah? So when we put them all together, what you get is, that's the A minor, yeah? Now there are actually 3 open strings here. That's E, A, and top E. Okay, so they're your open notes, so they're not fretted in any way. And I'm going to play the chord again so you can hear it. So that's your A minor. E minor is, there you go. So now we've actually got 5 chords that we could actually develop a way of being able to use these chords in a way that actually feels musical. And one of the things I'm going to try and do now is to actually show you a way that you can use these chords creatively, so it feels more exciting than just having, you know, G, C, D, and think, well, what do I do with it now? So we're going to kind of just play a little chord sequence I've put together for you, yeah? Which I know that you'll be able to pick up in no time at all. And we're going to do it very, very slowly so that it allows you time to get used to moving the chords around. Okay, we're going to start off with the first chord, which is a G. We're going to go from the G to the C, from the C to the D, and if you want to make a note of that, that would be probably a really good way of you being able to remember it as well. So it's from G to C to D. That will be repeated twice, and then we're going to add E minor and A minor, which will allow you then to input the 2 new chords that I've introduced to you today. And then we're going to finish off with the 3 chords that we started with on the first basic guitar lesson program I've done with you, which is the G, C and D. Okay then, so I'm going to give you a rough idea of what it's going to sound like, so here we go. And we're going to repeat that one more time. Now we're going to do the E minor and the A minor. Back to the sequence. And then just finish off on the G. Okay, so that gives you a rough idea of how you can work with chords and develop chord shapes